Hey, what's your self-talk? Jabari is here from What's Your Self-Talk podcast. And listen, I want you to download Anchor right now. Because chances are you're listening to this and you're saying, I got some things I want to share. I have some things that I've wanted to put in a podcast form. Here's the opportunity. Anchor is free. You can do it from your phone and you can be on all the different podcast stations all in one app. Okay. So what I need you to do is stop waiting for the perfect time, analysis paralysis. Do it now. You'll thank me later. What's your self-talk? Hey, what's your self-talk? This is Jabari, host of the podcast, What's Your Self-Talk? And here again, and I have a special guest with me, Mr. Darius Dunaway.
Hey, aka Chef D. Way.
So, for any of you guys that may know me or follow me, Darius is a very, very great friend of mine. We played football together at Arkansas State University. He's accountability partner, spiritual partner, life partner, just as far as pushing me and excelling in all areas of life. So,
And vice versa, brother. You same for me.
Appreciate you. So, we wanted to come to you today, and I wanted Darius to be on here with me because I think it's important, as us being both black males and husbands and fathers. I think it's important for a lot of things, but one thing that I always mention, and was the reason that I started this podcast, is that, my son, and in this case, his daughters are going to go back and listen to this because we are setting an example. And the one thing that I always was curious of, like, I wonder what my dad did here, or how he handled this, or what he's done. And so this is important for us not to only document for you to listen to, but it's more important for when I'm not here and our kids are trying to see, how would my dad handle this? Because I think, if we had, podcasts back when Martin Luther King was around, and, we had books, yeah, that was great, but, and we had his great speeches, but, what was those day-to-day, week-to-week, times, and how did he process things? And so all that to say, so we're back here and just talking about more kind of how should we move forward. The Black Lives Matter has now finally got to the point where people understand what it means. It's not excluding nobody else, but it's specifically saying this is something that we as America specifically, but also in the world, has overlooked for so long. And it was a great point. It was a great breakthrough. I know specifically for the black culture. However, I'm curious to know. Let Darius take the lead on this question. So, how are you doing mentally and emotionally after this has kind of been about the second weekend?
Great question. And if I were to be completely honest with you, in the last 15 days, it's probably been some of the hardest times of my life. A lot of tears, a lot of hurt, a lot of anger, a lot of fear, frustration. Also, a lot of grace, which is hard. But man, I say angry because I have, like you just discussed, I have two daughters who are, well, of course, 2 and 1. And one day I have to look at them and tell them the story of, hey, you're black, you look like me. And from the time you walk out the door, you're gonna be faced with different challenges and oppositions, and how you respond to those things can probably dictate if you live or die that day. It sounds extreme, but as we look around, it's not extreme. It's the reality of the conversation I have to have with my child, and that angers me. that makes me sad and it makes me hurt because no child should have to be taught how to stay alive. And it's been hard, bro. My wife and I have been processing this thing. Like I said, I had to do some things I never thought I'd do to make sure my family felt safe and protected, as far as, getting some home protection to have with me, which is unfortunate. Never thought that day would come. But again, more than anything, I said grace as well, because I know that Jesus is coming back again. He just ain't here yet.
Mm-hmm.
So with him not being here yet, these problems will still ensue. What we need, though, what we're seeking for our personal selves, me and my wife, and praying for others, is personal renewal. That we'll go from being consumers to being contenders. Contending, getting uncomfortable, investing in relationships with people that don't look like us, and challenging ourselves to understand, have empathy, and desire to bridge that gap, between different ethnicities. So,
Got you. Yeah, and just when I'm thinking through that kind of mental and emotional that I've been through this week, it's been very interesting, because you start to see or tap into different layers of yourself. That is good, but it's also conflicting, because you're like, I got here in an uncomfortable way. And let me explain. So as a Enneagram 7, if any of you guys know what Enneagram is, it's just a, how would you explain Enneagram?
Enneagram is like a personality chart to help you understand yourself, and if you're married, your spouse as well, and how you guys respond to certain things. Like,
Gotcha.
for an example, me and you being 7s, and my wife is a 1, perfectionist. 7 is an enthusiast or energizer. I see things through rose-colored glasses. I see everything as, oh man, I try to find the good in things, right? Like, I swept the whole house. I mean, and it looks great. My wife, being a perfectionist 1, she can look at the house that I just cleaned and mopped and see one spot that I didn't clean and mop, and being able to understand those different things and not be discouraged by it is that's what Enneagram does, provides that open line of communication.
Gotcha. So the Enneagram is a total of nine numbers, and all of those numbers represent a style, and how it's a tool more so to help people understand how you may view things. And so think about it. If you're looking at one topic, you have 9 different styles that people will look at that one topic and go about and approach that topic. So me and Darius specific is a 7, and he kind of hit it on the direction I wanted to go. We are someone who look at everything with rose-colored glasses. I mean, we are always looking for the joy, the excitement, the fun, and the reality is it wasn't nothing joyful about this.
You're right.
It was very painful.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned through the Enneagram was, when you are a 7, you have to allow yourself to maybe deal with some of those painful experiences. And this being a painful experience, it put, I know, both of us, and even me specifically, in a very uncomfortable place, just because it is something that I needed to process. No, if you're someone who always want to put rose-colored glasses on, you're like, well, no, man, I got to flip it around, try to make it positive. And, I think a lot of people try to, flip this around, say, hey, focus on this, focus on that. But I think the reality is that I found I'm like, that's not something I can do. And I remember going to an Enneagram conference specifically, and I asked the author, Suzanne Stable, as she called it, you reframe. You try to reframe everything into the good. And one of the advice she gave me, you need to allow that pain to happen, because that's going to start giving you different views and different experiences on how to look at life. And so all this week I've allowed that pain, and it's been difficult because it messes with how I look at things, and I start viewing my energy and effort and how should I use it. Oh, where should I put my energy and effort? So it's very, very interesting. So
That's good. That's good. See, I would agree with you as a 7. It is difficult and challenging to take time to take all those things in. I can remember last week being in our marriage group. We have a marriage group that we're a part of. I can remember vividly in our group thinking, man, how can I encourage these guys to just in light of the gospel, to look at this in light of the gospel, almost like pushing these guys along, trying to find something rose-colored about this thing, and it was hard. So of course I shared Psalm 33:22, which one of my mentors shared with me. Let your steadfast love, O Lord, be upon us, even as we hope in you. And I'm sharing this. We're breaking down the scripture, and we're meditating on this. And one of the guys in our group says, "Brother, everything you said is true and right, but honestly, I want to have my time to grieve. I want to sit in my hurt, because so many times I'm told and I'm forced to pull myself together and move on, and be okay before the next day you go to work, because it can be easily looked at as I'm the angry black guy, but I want to be able to sit in my hurt right now." And I thought, wow, we have to take time to sit in our hurt. And that's something that we don't do often as 7s. And that's something I've been challenged to do. And again, it's not fun, but it's definitely worth doing. So.
yeah, and I agree to that. And when you sit in it, I think the thing is, what are you telling yourself when you're sitting in that? And like you said, scripture is definitely important to be able to meditate on, but just even learning how to grieve and process those feelings and those pains. And so what changes has it sparked in you? We kind of talked about it a little bit, but if we was to dive a little bit deeper, say what, now that this have surfaced and now that this is understood, what would you think, Darius? What are some of the things how has this change sparked something inside of you?
Well, there's been some unhealthy changes that God actually has dealt with me on. My view of people who don't look like me, white Americans, not necessarily those I actually know, really, but those I don't. Normally when I'm walking my kids in my neighborhood, I'm the first to throw a hand up and wave and say hi or initiate conversations. And I found myself recently getting to a place where I'm like, I don't even know if they, racist or not or whatever. Just having this stinking thinking kind of mentality of assuming the worst, which is, of course, is not making anything any better. And the Holy Spirit actually convicted me in that moment. So much so that as I was walking that same day, feeling those same feelings, God allowed a guy to pull over that I never met before in my neighborhood, never seen before in my neighborhood. And of course, he's a white guy, and he sticks his hand out the window, his driver's side window, and says, "Hey, this is my attempt at trying to make things better." And I said, "Okay, Holy Spirit, I get it. I got you. I get it." So. So there also been some negative changes, but God kind of brought me back. But also it's made me more, aware of these conversations that needs to be had. So many times we can get to a place of saying, "Oh man, it's getting better, it's getting better, it's getting better." But I think because I'm a 7, I hope that it gets better. That I keep telling myself that it gets better and a lot of times it's not getting better. So that's kind of.
So. Few things, and one thing I think about it, it forces the change of having deeper conversations.
Oh yeah,
like you can't do surface level conversation anymore, because we have now at a point where it's that surface level that has caused us to get to this point. And you really start, like, for me personally, I started looking at in any and everything that I do, like, why do I overlook this, conversation with someone because I don't want it to go this deep? And the reality is it maybe need to go deep because something healthy can come out of it. The reality is, like, if I'm, with our spouses, like, they want to have deep intellectual conversation because most of that is they just want to understand who you are. And I think that's where anybody got to understand, like, anytime you want to build a relationship, you need to have difficult, hard conversations, just like we'll have with our kids. And the reality is that when we accept that and we work more on that, like for me, I'm like, okay, I get it now. And then those are now more meaningful conversations. And then two, it just really started making me start looking at the business perspective as a black owner and what are the things I need to do and will want to do to be able to put people in position to be more successful. And being successful as in, we invest in real estate. And I do that from my standpoint of ownership. I do that from a standpoint of wanting to have something to pass down from my son. And I do that because I see the options and the freedom that it provides so many people. And I am now proud, and it starting to want to make bolder moves, make bigger decisions, because to the amount of people I can affect in a good way is the more impact that I can have on the world. And so that's just it's a personal thing that I kind of take from it. So, last question is, what changes do you want to see down the line?
I kind of touched on this a second ago. Some of those changes I would love to see is people becoming, rather than being consumers and taking from, being contenders, getting uncomfortable, putting some skin in the game, get your feet wet. Find someone who doesn't look like you. Invest in a relationship with them. Don't look at someone like a project, but invest in a relationship with them. Understand, learn, and know their story, so that you can begin to empathize, so that you can begin to try to understand the difference between the two, and hope and I just and pray and seek renewal together, not just alone. So those are some of the steps the changes I would love to see take place in our community, in our world, in our country. But again, it just starts with one person making one decision. Also, I can't leave this out. Just like I do with my African American or Black friends, you correct those who have ignorant views of other ethnic groups, people, aka racist. If you know somebody that's around you that is a racist, a low-key racist, high-key racist, middle-key racist, period, correct them. Mm-hmm. Correct them. Fix your circle. As we fix our circle, you fix your circle, and bring people in that don't look like you in your circle, so that we can continue to recreate, multiply these circles, and make these changes. That's all I got on that, brother.
I think it's being and having authentic relationships.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, me and Darius, we did a podcast with somebody that's very close to us that took basically me and him in some way, form, or fashion when we moved here at Arkansas State University. And, it's no doubt that we understand and know his heart, his intentions, and for him being a white male and having a white family, he's done so much to bless us. But the reality is that happened before,
right,
all this, and so
exactly, that's good.
That means he was already invested in who we were and looked past the color of our skin. And so, but not being ignorant to some of the things, but been a little ignorant, don't get me wrong, but now even asking more questions to even understand deeply. And I think what we have to do is not only when you get in a relationship, but you can start being able to speak up, just like Darius said. Like, you have conversations with your friends and with your business associates or whatever, and you have to realize, like, when we're not around, or if anybody's not around and they are, talking about another race, or they're dehumanizing another race, it's just like, you sitting there and choosing not to say anything, it's basically agreeing with them. And that's one of the reasons why I chose to just start talking more about this topic on my podcast, because I can't choose to be quiet, because I know I have a lot of black males and black families, and even white friends and other friends who's listening, who want to understand. So it's very, very important to understand the need of building those relationships, but then too, like, let's see that the system start to change. Let's start seeing people not being judged, based off the color of the skin, but also let's dig deep down into the roots of how this has affected our culture. And I want to start seeing policies change, rules change, because it's so many different layers that it's so hard to even touch on, just like in one, podcast. But just knowing how, if we start doing these things, that's building authentic relationships, how that eventually affects the way we work, the way we communicate, the way we just go about our everyday lives. Because now that you understand, now you can try to see with my glasses. You can start to see life and how I see it.
All right. I will also add something else that could be done, man. Supporting people of other race more, i.e. white people supporting black people. I say that because I'm in a position now where I'm doing ministry full time, and I have to raise every dime of my salary to continue to do ministry full time on campus. And sometimes there's the fear or the worry of, if I say the wrong thing, then I may lose my supporters who are, of course, majority white. And if I were to lose those supporters, man, that's not many people in my community back home that have the funds to support me. All right, so it's support one another. All right, encourage one another. If you're in a position to do it, then do so. Because, man, I heard something so crazy, which brought tears to my eyes. But I was listening to a podcast that Andy Mineo did with a guy, an interview he did with a guy, and this guy gave an example that was on point. This using the game Monopoly, and I never thought about it like this, but this is truth. But he said the rules of Monopoly, as he was talking to this white guy. This white guy explains the game and says, every time you pass go, you get 200. Right? You're free to buy property. There's a free market as well, and things like that. But actually, whenever you pass go, speaking to the black guy, you don't get money. And actually, you can't buy property because you are the property, and you spend more time in jail than anywhere else. And I thought, whoa. And he went on to say, well, as this black guy teaches his kids this, his kids goes and says, this is not fair. So the white guy comes back and says, well, okay, every time you pass go, we'll give you $50. Right? And okay, we guess we'll let you buy properties now. And this guy's like, wait, but you own all the property. I don't want to play this game anymore. I don't want to be a part of this game. Right? And the reality is that's the system that we grew up in. Our families grew up in. Like I said, honestly, my family don't have much to support me. If I lose my supporters here, I gotta find another job, right? But if a majority of people that I'm doing this job with, if they lose their support, they're fine. That's just the reality. So support, yeah, definitely support black businesses, support black men who's trying to do this. I was on a conference call today. It was 75 people. 75 people in a region wide conference call with my FCA. And you know how many black people was on it? Out of 75, there was only 5 people that were black. All right, so I mean, we need more people like of color as well in these kind of groups to shed this light as well too. So that's all. I don't want to take over your podcast.
No. I mean, you bring up a great point, because what happens is if you just look back on business as black owned, the first thing that come to mind for me is the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when it was on Greenwood, a strip of all black businesses that eventually got burned down overnight. And why I bring that up is because business owners or black people who've owned their own business has been something that has been taken away from them so many times. And so now it's, if you take that away from me, now it's you're messing with my confidence of who I can be and how I can provide for my family. And your ability to support financially is boosting that confidence. And I think it's even more important, if you are white, to be able to support somebody who is black in their business, because to them, that can be your way of helping. Because for them, it's so many different layers that they have to think through. Oh, am I not getting this my customer? Take away the marketing and all other stuff. But like, it's a layer that so many of black business owners go through. Like, I'm only experiencing this because I'm black. And I just want you to take into deep consideration on helping those, just like Darius said. So I want you to go to YouTube. Darius, you can support him by being on his YouTube page, Chef D-Way.
Yeah, so there's several ways if you do decide you want to support me. First off, you can support me through my ministry of FCA. That's what I do full time. Darius Dunaway, Northeast Arkansas.
I'll put in the show notes.
Okay, Northeast Arkansas, Jonesboro, of course, FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And, of course, my deal I like to do on the side is something I hope that takes off more. I enjoy cooking, and I have a page on YouTube called Chef D-Way. I also have one on Instagram as well. Subscribe to that. Watch some of the videos, like, comment, interact with me. I'll definitely interact with you, and that'll help. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and hopefully see what this thing can produce for us. So
there you go.
Chef D-Way.
Chef D-Way. So we'll put that in the show notes. Darius, brother, as always, man, I appreciate you coming and just blessing me with some of your wisdom, and the listeners with the wisdom. And we are going to keep pressing forward. And the goal and the job of this podcast is to always ask questions that's going to challenge you, and it's going to pull out more of your potential. So I want you to leave this podcast asking one question. What's your self-talk?